Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis at third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Arizona Diamondbacks in the final game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the D-backs, right-hander Brandon Pfaadt, and for the Padres, left-hander Martin Perez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 12:10 p.m. at Chase Field in Arizona. It is game 162, the final day of the Padres regular season, with more baseball yet to be played beginning on Tuesday at Petco Park in the National League Wild Card round. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll also check in with Dylan Cease a little bit later. We'll hear from Brandon Lockridge, the rookie, back in the lineup today for the Padres. And in just a little bit, we check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations: La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today 93-68. The Padres, like I said, will play on Tuesday at Petco Park in a National League wildcard series. But as of this moment, we still don't know against what team. That's because the Diamondbacks are battling for the final 2 wildcard spots in the NL with the Mets and the Braves. The Diamondbacks entered today 88-73, but they are just 9-12 in their last 21 games. If the D-backs don't win today, there is a scenario where they could be eliminated. The only way they could clinch a spot today is by winning this game and losses by both the Mets and the Braves. The Mets and the Braves are currently scheduled to make up 2 games in a doubleheader tomorrow in Atlanta, but there's also a chance if both those teams clinch spots today that they wouldn't play that doubleheader in Atlanta tomorrow. There are so many different scenarios at play. The game for the Padres doesn't mean a whole lot, but it may affect A, who they play on Tuesday, and B, what that team has to do tomorrow if the Braves and the Mets do have to play that doubleheader in Atlanta tomorrow. So a lot to chew on. We'll get into it as we go along here on our pregame coverage. Well, last night the Padres gave a number of their regulars rest. They brought up Randy Vasquez to make a start, and the Padres ended up having a lot to smile about.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Randy Vasquez was great. He pitched 5 no-hit innings to start his night. Got out of a big jam in the 6th inning to make it 6 scoreless innings. The game went all the way to the 9th inning. Still no score. In the top of the 9th, there was a runner on base for Kyle Higashioka.
Buck will look at Peralta come home. And Higashioka swings. Hits it in the air. Deep to left field. This one gonna go! 2-run homer, Kyle Higashioka. And the Padres have gone in front here in the 9th.
Next up was the rookie, Brandon Lockridge.
And now Lockridge sends one to deep left field. Gurriel is back. It's going to go. First career homer for Brandon Lockridge. And they go back-to-back. It's 3-0 here in the 9th.
Later in the inning, it was Donnie Barrels.
0-1 pitch, hit in the air, deep down the left field line. Gurriel back to watch. This one, going to go. 2-run homer, Donovan Solano, his 4th hit of the night, and the Padres have busted it open with 5 runs here in the 9th.
The Padres bullpen was very good. Brian Hoeing, Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui combining for 3 scoreless innings of relief. Final score, Padres 5 and the Diamondbacks nothing. The D-backs had just 2 hits in what was a huge game for them. And the 2024 Padres also secured having the second best record in team history. And now they play game 162 of the regular season here today. Let's go to Arizona.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
All right, Jesse, game number 162 of the Padres season. They sit at 93 wins. They've already secured having the second best record in team history. And even though today's game does not mean a whole lot to them, it's a bit of an interesting, weird, fun day for the Padres, I suppose, because what happens in their game in Arizona certainly could have an impact on who they play on Tuesday in game 1 of the wild card series, but also what that team may have to do tomorrow with this potential doubleheader looming between the Mets and the Braves. So, Jesse, it's a fun day, a weird day, and I'm not quite sure how to feel about it all.
Yeah, I think, from like a results standpoint here, you almost have to put it all out of your mind, right? In terms of like, when so-and-so is at bat for the Padres, like that guy is going to take as good of an at bat as he possibly can. That's the reality. Remember, Luis Ariz is going to try and lock up a batting title today. Fernando is going to be up there trying to add to his numbers. Jackson Merrill, an opportunity with a home run maybe to get to 25. Hey, if he hits 2, that ties the rookie franchise record of 26 home runs in a season. So, like, all those things are going on. And, one of the great things that MLB has done in the last decade or so is to have this final day of the regular season where everybody plays at the same time. Because it will be neat to kind of track what's going on with the Braves and the Royals, the Mets and the Brewers. And as you said, all of the different scenarios that could end up playing out. But, I don't think when Jackson is in the box, right, he's going to be thinking about that or caring about that. Obviously, there is a chaos scenario that exists in terms of the Mets and the Braves having to play a doubleheader, and then presumably flying to one of them to San Diego to open up, as I say, presumably on Tuesday.
Right.
I'm gonna put that in there, and I'm not going to say any more right now, but I will say presumably on Tuesday, not definitely on Tuesday. And, I understand as a Padre fan, people are, wanting it to be as difficult a road ahead as possible, but I think you just got to kind of go out there, play the game, whatever happens, happens. And if last night was any indication, Diamondbacks, they're going to have to do some work here because that was one of the most laying of an egg I've ever seen. In a big game for a team yesterday. So we'll see how it all goes. Tony and I will be spinning ourselves in circles all afternoon going over the scenarios, and it should be a lot of fun, as you said. Weird, but fun.
I totally agree with you from the D-backs perspective as well. To get 2 hits last night, and by the way, Randy Vasquez was great. The bullpen was great, but to have a scoreless game in the 9th inning, get 2 hits in that big of a game for Arizona yesterday. If I'm a D-backs fan, I'm pulling my hair out with that performance yesterday, and it's another huge game for them today as they try to at least stay alive in this wild card race. So all those situations at play, and you're right, Jesse, it's a good point. A lot to look forward to today, whether it's Luis Ariz securing a batting title, whether it's Manny Machado hitting his 30th home run, some of the other examples you put out there as well. This will be the final time we talk to you during the regular season. When we reconnect on the pregame during the postseason, obviously things take a different turn as we really focus on each and every night what's going on in the game preview. So let's take this opportunity to sort of sum up what the regular season has been. A team that sat at 50-50 at one point. It's been a wonderful second half. By record, the second best team in Padres regular season history. Jesse, how will you remember the 2024 regular season Padres?
I will, I think more than anything, remember them for being a team that did things the right way and were rewarded for it. You and I have had some version of that conversation many times this year. Tony and I certainly during the games have had a version of that conversation. And I think it's the overarching thing for me. Last year's team, you could argue if you needed to sum them up in a couple of words, they tried to do too much. This year's team, total opposite. Trusted one another, played the game the right way, did not try to do too much. and the results speak for themselves in one-run games, in extra inning games, with runners in scoring position, and just the overall offensive approach. They also got tremendous starting pitching this year. They had guys step up all season long. And, if I would have told you in spring training, hey, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish are going to miss most of the summer. Hey, Manny's elbow's probably not going to be right until mid-late June. Hey, Fernando is going to miss a big chunk with like a stress fracture in his leg. Hey, Bogarts is going to miss a bunch of time. Hey, Ha-Seong Kim is going to have his season come to a close in mid-August. If I would have told you all of those things before Game 1 in Korea, you would have said, uh-oh, this is going to be a bad year. And here we are, 93-68, hosting a wild card series on Tuesday. The depth that was assembled for this roster and the way those guys played is going to be the other thing that I remember very dearly about the 2024 regular season.
Really well said, and a lot of guys deserve credit, from the players, obviously, to Mike Shildt, to his coaching staff, and to A.J. Preller, who did a great job this year putting this team together. So many different pieces work together so nicely, and hopefully just the start of the fun with the postseason beginning later this week at Petco Park. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. Enjoy this game. 162. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at the very top of the hour. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sam. Enjoy the game.
All right, Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for the final game of the Padres regular season. Just to give you an idea of how crazy things could get today with the D-backs, Mets, and Braves. There's scenarios, everything from the D-backs losing and the Mets winning and the Braves winning today. In fact, that wouldn't matter what the Braves did in that scenario. If the Diamondbacks lose and the Mets win, it would be the Mets and the Braves clinching those final two wild card spots. But there's that scenario where the D-backs are out of it by the end of today and the Mets and Braves don't play the doubleheader tomorrow. There also is a scenario where later today in Arizona, the D-backs are popping champagne, because if they win and the Braves and Mets lose, the D-backs then get one of the wild card spots, and then the Mets and Braves are left battling for the final spot tomorrow. So there are so many examples of what could happen today, depending on the result in Arizona, the result in Atlanta, the result in Milwaukee. But again, the good news from the Padres' perspective, even though it could impact them on who they play, on when they play game one of that series, the good news is that, hey, if you're the Padres, you know you're hosting the wild card and the rest is going to take care of itself. But obviously, the way they play in Arizona today could have an impact on everything. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, plus a little bit later, we hear from Dylan Cease, we hear from Brandon Lockridge. Our keys to the game, a full breakdown of this pitching matchup between Martin Perez and Brandon Pfaadt, although those are the two starting pitchers today. I'm not quite sure how long those two guys are going to go today, because there are a couple of reasons for that. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. First pitch at 12:10 in Arizona on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 12:10 in Arizona. It is the final Sunday of the regular season. I would say it's the final day of the MLB regular season, but we don't know that that's true right now, with Atlanta and New York right now scheduled to play a doubleheader in Atlanta tomorrow. But Frank and I were just talking about it during the break. There is a scenario where the Mets and the Braves don't have to play that doubleheader tomorrow, so it could be, hypothetically, the final day of the regular season. The Diamondbacks could prevent that and force the Mets and Braves to play a doubleheader tomorrow, or at least one game tomorrow, by winning today. Padres will try to win and not allow that to happen today, but a number of different scenarios that could come into play, and we'll keep you posted on the scores in Milwaukee, in Atlanta, as the afternoon rolls along. Last night, the Padres didn't have a whole lot to play for, but they had a lot of good stuff happen in last night's game. Randy Vasquez, 5 no-hit innings last night. He would go 6 scoreless innings in yesterday's game. It was a 0-0 game. Going to the top of the 9th inning, that's when Kyle Higashioka hit a 2-run home run to put the Padres ahead. Brandon Lockridge went back-to-back with him, his first major league home run. Later in the inning, Donovan Solano, a 2-run home run to make it 5-0. Padres went on to win by that final score. Day game after a night game, so no pregame media availability for Mike Shildt. So let's revisit what Mike had to say after yesterday's 5-0 win.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Hey, Mike, you talked about it before the ball game. Even though these games don't affect the outcome of the season necessarily, you guys were going to continue to bring it, and you proved that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question this club, regardless of who we put out there, is going to compete and can play to win the game. So, yeah, I mean, started with Vasquez, fantastic. He's been a big part of our club this year. He's done a really nice job picking up some other guys and filling in the rotation, and came in today, and shoot, man, he's on a path to a no-hitter through 5, and they've really been pitching the 6th, and we were able to do some really good things defensively as well. That pitch and defense went hand in hand together. And Bogey in the first, Wade, I mean, gosh, what are you going to say? Yeah. This guy's played all over the field, hadn't played right field a whole lot. Goes out, makes a play down the line, big-time play. Ahmed never really played second base. 2-time Gold Glove winner, lays out, makes a play. Peralta makes a play. Manny does what he does in the 8th against Grichuk. So, yeah, guys were out there getting after it, and, we stuck right there and then put some big swings on him in the ninth.
Yeah. Can you talk about Kyle Higashioka, comes up with the big home run, what he's meant to this ball club on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, both sides, man. It's, for me, it always starts with the catching position behind the plate, and he's done a great job there. He's really done a nice job leading the staff, and guys got a lot of confidence in him. He's done a tremendous job back there, but he's had some big swings for us, man. This guy's had a really productive year, and another big swing for him with a big 2-run homer.
Brandon Lockridge, pretty special moment for him getting a chance to get that first home run.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Congratulations to him. That's a big milestone, He's got both spectrums covered in his first couple hits. He's got the bunt hit and then he's got the homer, so did a nice job.
Nice to see Donovan kind of get going here the 4-hit game right before the playoffs. It's a big bat for you guys.
Big bat. He's a professional hitter and on display tonight, using the whole field, driving the baseball, and then gets a pitch he can handle and he drives it. Represents our whole approach, really, to use the whole field and get a pitch you can do damage on, you pull the trigger.
You talked a lot about how it would take a whole organization, and that Vasquez is kind of emblematic of how important those guys have been for you this season. What can you kind of say about the way that has played out this year, the way you've gotten those contributions from those guys?
It's always going to go deeper in 26. We know that, and the 40-man roster is going to be utilized, and I give a lot of credit to the guys that have done it. They've been there. The Vasquez, Waldron obviously started with us. Now Lockridge comes up and contributes, and but also our, look up at our pro scouting department. It's a nice organizational. Strada, pretty big pickup. Wadey, these guys have been big helps, to our club this year. So they get a lot of credit, and I think it's appropriate. Also, our El Paso staff's with us today. Pete Zamora and Scott Mitchell, the pitching coach, are with us today, and Vinny Lopez, our field coordinator. So it doesn't happen with the guys unless the guys are down there below getting them ready to play and come contribute. So it's nice to have those guys up here today with us, and enjoyed having them.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after yesterday's 5-0 win for the Padres in Arizona. And we'll hear more from Mike on our postgame show coming up later on this afternoon. First pitch coming up at 12:10 in Arizona. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We take a look at the hot category, and keep in mind, as we go through the hot and not category, some of these guys not in the lineup here today. Padres resting some of their regulars today. But David Peralta, who is in the lineup, left fielder, batting cleanup today. A key hit last night in the 9th inning. He's now 7 for 17 in his past 4 starts. Xander Bogaerts, 2 for 4 last night. He's batting .344 in the past 9 games. Xander getting the day off today alongside Manny Machado. Fernando Tatis Jr. did take an offer on Friday night, still batting .333 in his last 57 at-bats with 7 home runs, 5 doubles, 12 RBI in that span. The not category, again, a guy not on the lineup today getting a day off, Jurickson Profar, 3 for 20 in his last 5 games. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for game 162 of the Padres season. When we return, we hear from Dylan Cease. We'll also give you our keys to the game, and a little bit later, we'll hear from one of the Padres rookies who had a nice moment last night, Brandon Lockridge, at his first career Major League home run. First pitch at 12:10 in Arizona on the Padres Radio Network. Back here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres radio network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we walk you up towards first pitch in game 162 of the Padres regular season. More baseball to come at Petco Park this week, but as far as the regularly scheduled campaign, well, it is over as of today. A lot to play for the Diamondbacks today. We keep a very close eye on what the Mets are doing in Milwaukee. We keep a very close eye on what the Braves are doing against the Royals in Atlanta. The interesting thing, and it was a good move by Major League Baseball a number of years ago to make it this way, everybody begins their game around the same time, from somewhere between 12:05 Pacific to 12:10 Pacific. So there really is no opportunity to scoreboard watch and decide what you might do based on what another team is doing somewhere else. So everybody's sort of on an even playing field, playing at the same time. So we have every team playing simultaneously over the course of the next few hours. Should be a very interesting few hours to see where things stand by the time we get on the air for our post-game show. I would think by the time we're off air today, we will know what's happening if the Mets and Braves need to play that doubleheader in Atlanta. If they don't, or we may even know who the Padres are playing this week at Petco Park. So a number of different scenarios at play. We'll hear from Dylan Cease in just a moment. We'll also hear from Padres rookie Brandon Lockridge. First, let's take a quick look at our injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
Well, we found out yesterday officially Ha-Seong Kim will not return to the Padres this season. He will undergo season-ending surgery to repair what he called a small tear in the labrum in his right shoulder. Kim tried to come back, tried to ramp up his throwing, but that shoulder just would not respond the way he wanted it to. Of course, he sustained the injury in mid-August while diving back into first base during a game in Colorado. Kim and the Padres have a mutual option worth $10 million this offseason, and we'll see. It is possible that Ha-Seong Kim has played his final game as a Padre. It is possible that's not the case as well. We'll see, but we do know one thing, and that's in 2024, Ha-Seong Kim is done for the season with that right shoulder injury. So that was the big update yesterday, and the Padres now move on without Kim for the rest of the season. We'll have our keys to the game coming up in just a moment. We'll hear from Dylan Cease, but let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on the final Sunday of the regular season.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at the scores today around the major leagues. Like I said, everything is starting just after the top of the hour, so none of these games in progress yet, but let me tell you about the matchups today. Most of these games, quite frankly, mean nothing. The only things that need to be figured out, there's some American League seeding stuff in these games that I'm not going to get into right now. That needs to be figured out, and then all those scenarios with the D-backs, Mets, and Braves, which is the big part of the day, really. But the matchups today, Astros in Cleveland, Phillies in D.C. against the Nationals, Pirates in New York against the Yankees, Cardinals visit the Giants, Rays at Fenway Park against the Red Sox, Marlins and the Blue Jays in Toronto, Rangers are in Anaheim against the Angels, Orioles in Minnesota against the Twins, the Tigers host the White Sox, who already have the worst record ever in the modern era at 40-121. Dodgers in Colorado, Mets in Milwaukee, A's in Seattle, Reds in Chicago against the Cubs, and finally the Royals and the Braves. That game starts at 12:20 in Atlanta. Kind of interesting. So I was actually a little bit off on that. Not every game starting between 12:05 and 12:10. How does that work? How does Atlanta start at 12:20? Seems like everybody should start within that 5-minute span. That's interesting there. I didn't realize that until I just read through the out-of-town scoreboard. Why is that? I thought everybody starts at the same time. I mean, that's a little bit of an advantage. Anyway, Whatever, not my decision. But that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday, final Sunday of the regular season. We will see if it's the final day of the regular season, because if Atlanta and New York play tomorrow, well, that's a continuation of the regular season. Dylan Cease, obviously, a very nice season with the Padres, some stretches where he has been absolutely dominant. Presumably, Dylan will start one of the Padres' wild card round games, an opportunity to have a big-time postseason start. I caught up with Dylan Cease in the Padres clubhouse earlier this week in L.A. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game, and right now I'm joined by Padres starting pitcher Dylan Cease. Dylan, you made your final start of the regular season on Wednesday in L.A. Now that your regular season has come to an end, how would you sort of sum up your 2024 regular season with the Padres?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I'm happy to have taken the ball every time out. There were definitely a lot of highs. I would have liked to have been a little more consistent. I had some low points a couple times through the season where I was just a little erratic, but for the most part, I feel like I gave us a chance to win a good amount, and that's what it's all about.
You mentioned taking the ball every 5 days. When you get ready for a season, how much of just that is an emphasis, being available every 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of the battle. It's why I lift weights and do Pilates and train hard in the off season, and it's really almost invaluable. It's if I'm not out there, I can't help the team.
In the month of September, the rotation has been great, whether it's you or Joe or King or you or Martin Perez. From your perspective, what stood out about what this rotation has done, especially as of late?
Yeah, I think that's just a testament to us wanting to win. We know that, to win, we're going to have to be clutch and hold them down. So I think just collectively we're all kind of feeding off of that, and we all know that, we gotta raise our standards.
Is there a lot of communication that goes on during the course of the series as you guys face the same lineup a few days in a row? What's that communication like in a series like this one against the Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount. We'll pick each other's brains, but for the most part, I feel like, everyone's pretty prepared. We kind of have our plans, and, we kind of just go from there.
Dylan, as far as the celebration in here on Tuesday night, obviously a great accomplishment. What's it feel like to accomplish what you guys have accomplished as a group, especially in the second half of the season?
Yeah, it was an amazing second half. Making the postseason is special. We're not settling for that. We want a lot more, but it was just, for me personally, a special year, and I think we can all agree it was pretty amazing.
And that was Dylan Cease earlier this week inside the Padres clubhouse. Of course, Dylan pitching the second no-hitter in Padres history in Washington during the summer. So certainly some very memorable moments for Dylan Cease in 2024, and hopefully more memorable moments for Dylan in the postseason coming up starting this week. Before we get to our keys to the game, and we'll hear from Padres rookie outfielder Brandon Lockridge a little bit later as well, I mentioned earlier, even though our starting pitching matchup today is between Martin Perez and Brandon Pfaadt, who's on the mound for Arizona, you get the sense that there is a scenario where neither of these guys go very, very deep into their respective starts for very different reasons. Let's begin with the Padres side of that. Randy Vasquez optioned back to AAA El Paso before today's game. The Padres recalling Matt Waldron. Remember him? Pretty big part of this team for a while in 2024, recalling Matt Waldron from AAA El Paso. So you would imagine that Waldron, if he's been called up today, he's going to pitch in some capacity today. So we'll see how long Martin Perez goes in this start. You would assume the Padres certainly aren't going to overwork him in any capacity, but we'll see how long Perez goes. You would imagine Waldron getting called up means that he will pitch in some capacity today. So that's the Padres side of it. On the other side of it for Arizona, Brandon Pfaadt, young right-hander on the mound, has had some nice moments throughout the last couple of years. But keep in mind, there's a scenario, well, this game is huge for Arizona, but there's also a scenario that if the Mets are winning in Milwaukee, the Diamondbacks could be playing for their playoff lives. They could be eliminated today. So with that said, this is a tweet from Steve Gilbert, who covers the Diamondbacks for MLB.com, does a great job. Steve tweeting earlier today, talked to D-backs Zach Gallen, says he still has to go out and play catch, but he thinks he should be available out of the pen today. Did not throw his between-start bullpen session. rotation just in case he was needed today. So we heard rumblings of that last night, that Zach Gallen could be available out of the bullpen for Arizona today. You understand it because, again, they could be eliminated today, so it is all hands on deck. So, again, you just imagine with Gallen maybe available that it's going to be a pretty short leash on Brandon Pfaadt. You don't get the sense that Arizona manager Torey Lovullo is going to allow Pfaadt to go out there and struggle very long. It's that kind of day for the D-backs. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
All right, so how do the Padres pick up a win today? Would be their 94th of the season. Key number one, keep the D-backs down with runners in scoring position. This has been a brutal series for Arizona with runners in scoring position, considering what's at stake. Friday night, they went 1 for 7 with RISP. Last night, 0 for 6 in those scenarios, so 1 for 13 in the 2 games of this series. So the question is today, can the Padres prevent Arizona from scoring when they have opportunities today? The Diamondbacks collectively are just 8 for 61 total in the first 2 games of this series. That's a 131 batting average as a team. Keep in mind, the Diamondbacks, even with the last couple of days, lead the major leagues in runs scored this season. So they've been a really good offensive team all year, not the last couple of days. So can the Padres prevent the D-backs from getting that offense going here today? Key number 2, a lefty against the Snakes. The Diamondbacks lead the major leagues in batting average, on base percentage against lefties in 2024. Only the Dodgers and the Braves have a higher slugging percentage than Arizona against left-handed pitching. And of course, I bring that up because the Padres are throwing a left-hander in Martin Perez today. Ketel Marte hitting .337 with a major league high 17 home runs against left-handed pitching in 2024. Eugenio Suarez is 5 for 9 with a home run in his career against Martin Perez. So key number 2, can Martin Perez get it done today against the Snakes for however long Martin is in there today? And key number 3, Manny getting to 30. Manny Machado is 1 home run shy of his 8th career 30 home run season, which would be the most among active players. Machado has 6 home runs and 19 RBIs in his last 19 games. So if Manny can get number 30, that would certainly benefit the Padres here today. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we'll tell you about something to watch for in today's game. Really something very important to watch for in today's game. Plus, we hear from Padres rookie outfielder Brandon Lockridge. More to come as we walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 12:10 in Arizona. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get you ready for Game 162 of the regular season. Padres taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and should be a fun one. A lot at play for the D-backs today. A lot at play in the National League wild card race, and we'll keep you posted on all those different scenarios and scores, what's going on with the Mets in Milwaukee, what's going on with the Braves in Atlanta as we go along throughout the afternoon. San Diego County Toyota dealers are proud partners of the Padres and supporters of the San Diego community, and we would like to especially recognize and honor the men and women who serve our country on this Military Sunday. Thank you, and go Padres. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
After we do what to watch for, I have to make one correction in my keys to the game. We'll get to that in a second. Let's tell you what to watch for today. Luis Arraez leading off for the Padres. Why is that significant today? Well, Luis is looking to clinch a third straight batting title, one in the AL, two in the NL. Here today, he sits at a .314 batting average entering today, 4 points ahead of Shohei Ohtani. In fact, Arraez is the only guy standing in the way of Ohtani winning a triple crown because Ohtani leads the NL in home runs and in RBIs. If Luis has a nice day with a hit or two, he's probably going to hang on and win a batting title. If he takes an over and Ohtani has a huge day, then it could very much be at play. Only 8 players have ever won 3 straight batting titles. Miguel Cabrera is the last player to do it. He won 3 in a row in the American League from 2011 to 2013. And also, just keep this in mind, Arraez has 9 hits in 13 at-bats against Brandon Pfaadt, the Arizona starter, in his career. And that's a look at what to watch for in today's game. Luis Arraez, can he hang on for a batting title? His third in a row, one in the AL, 2 in the NL. It would be his third with 3 different teams, one with the Twins, one with the Marlins, and this one would be with the San Diego Padres. The correction I have about the keys to the game, I talked about Manny Machado trying to get to 30 home runs. I should mention Manny's not in the lineup today, so I doubt he's going to pinch hit today, so I don't think Manny's going to get there. See, this is what I get for sometimes writing things down the night before, not thinking. Sorry about that. But a good time to talk about Manny Machado. Let's quickly hear from Brandon Lockridge. He appeared on Annie and Elston earlier this week. Lockridge with his first career home run last night. Lockridge was in the Padres clubhouse celebrating that postseason berth on Tuesday. Here was Brandon on that experience.
Man, that moment was pretty unbelievable, honestly. Closest thing I've had to that was 2022. We won a Double-A championship, and as great as that was, the other night was pretty special, and quite a difference. So that was awesome to be a part of that. To see everybody celebrating, just to be a small part of that was incredible.
So that was Brandon Lockridge on being able to celebrate with the Padres, clinching that postseason berth. Here was Lockridge. Remember when he came in his MLB debut in San Francisco, first pitch he saw from first base, he took off, stole a base in his major league debut. Here was Lockridge earlier this week on that.
Yeah, I was, there's certain situations where they tell me to be ready for them. If this happens, you'll go in, that kind of thing. So this was just one of the few times during that game that, I was told that, if this opportunity presents itself, you'll go run for them. And, we prepare extremely well for these pitchers. And, Macias, our first base coach, we spend a pretty good amount of time to start every series going over guys that we think we can target. And I have a great game plan going in out there. And, I knew it was my first opportunity. I kind of had blinders on. I had one thing in my mind, and it was to steal second base. And first pitch, he gave me, a nice leg lift to do it. So was super pumped about that.
That was Brandon Lockridge earlier this week on the Annie and Elston program here on 97.3 The Fan. If you want to hear that full interview, you can go back and listen to it on 97.3thefansd.com or, as always, on the free Odyssey app. Let's preview today's starting pitching matchup between Martin Perez and Brandon Pfaadt.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
Again, we'll see how long both these guys go today. Left-hander Martin Perez on the mound for the Padres. 2024 with San Diego, 3-0, a 2.61 ERA in 9 starts. The Padres have won 8 out of his 9 starts since he was traded from the Pirates. Last start against the White Sox, 5 innings and a third, 1 earned run, given up 2 hits. He's made 3 starts in September, a 1.08 ERA in 16-plus innings. In those last 3 starts, Perez has been really good. Meanwhile, right-hander Brandon Pfaadt on the mound for Arizona. He's given up 4 or more runs in 6 of his last 8 starts. He's a 7.91 ERA, 8 home runs given up in that span. His last start, 2 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs given up. He struggled in 3 starts against the Padres this season. He's given up 11 runs on 26 hits against the Padres so far this year. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. standing by, ready to go for Game 162. This is the Padres Radio Network.